Blutbad.
Hello and welcome back to another behind-the-scenes toy photography video. Today I'll show you how I made a hologram effect. I call this shot Mission Briefing 2. I'll also show you my editing process in Photoshop. For this shot I used Darth Vader and the Grand Inquisitor from Hasbro's Star Wars The Black Series. To begin my setup, I first positioned some cinder blocks to give my set a bit of leverage. The stand on my background TV isn't that tall, but there's still a 2-inch gap, so I often raise my sets off my desk to cover that gap. Then I positioned my floor surface, which I made out of a bookshelf with black adhesive vinyl stuck to it. This floor surface is a massive dust magnet, but luckily you couldn't really tell in the final shot. Next I added my holo table, which was modeled by the talented Landspeeder Luke. I'll leave a link to his Patreon page in the description. With the main set piece in place, I posed and placed my figures around it, then moved my background TV into position. After that, I finished the set with one more piece of 3D printed scenery, also from Landspeeder Luke. The final piece for this setup was my 3D printed hologram of the Emperor, which I got from myminifactory.com. I'll also leave a link for that in the description. To create the hologram effect, I took an exposure with the Emperor and another exposure without. Here's my starting image. My main goal for this edit was to blend together my separate exposures to create the hologram effect. I began by using the pen tool to cut out the hologram and move it to a new layer. Then I cleaned up the background and edges before applying some adjustment layers to my new hologram layer. Next I applied this hologram texture with a layer mask and made multiple copies of the layer which I would add differing levels of motion blur and transparency to. I've made hologram effects like this in the past, but unfortunately I haven't really nailed down the process yet. Each time I do this, it's mostly trial and error. Once I was satisfied with the hologram, I edited out the articulation joints on my figures and digitally added some lights to the console and Vader's armor with the pen and brush tools. So once again, here's my starting image. And here's where I ended up. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and maybe check me out on Instagram. Thanks, and until next time.